We're replacing upper A-arm bushings. These right here where I'm pointing. If you just a second, you'll see me move. See, I'm pushing on the top of the tire. You can see how much the upper A-arm is moving. These bushings are completely wore out. It'll cause your tires to wear funny, stuff like that. It's not safe. So we're going to replace them. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So you got to take the tire off, obviously, here. And I got it supported with 2 jack stands, front and back, and then there's still weight on the jack. And I sprayed penetrant on all my threads, nuts, bolts, anything that I knew would be seized. The shock has to come out. You see my previous Durnago video on that one. The style shock, I've always wound up having to cut them off because that never works right. They do make a tool. And let's see here. Okay, so I got the shock out of the way, and I want to remove this here brake hose bracket, and again sprayed those down again. And down here, these are the bolts that actually hold the A-arm in place. I want to knock all that crud off with wire brush and make it a little easier. Now, these bolts are pretty tight just from age. So I took my jack handle here, and I'm using it as a cheater pipe to give myself some leverage because I can't get the impact in there on that one. So here I've got the brake hose out of the way. I did not remove those nuts completely, mainly because I couldn't get the shock out, the socket out there. Put your bolts back in so you don't lose them. They're not going to be in the way. Now we have to remove the cotter key off the upper ball joint and the nut. I have no idea what I was saying here. I'm having to do a voiceover on this because my mic quit. Now there's a couple different ways to remove this ball joint once you get it loose. You can use a pickle fork. You got to be careful not to damage the boot. Sometimes you can get lucky and just loosen the bolt up and just take pressure off of it and allow spring pressure will pop them loose, which is what will happen with this one because these ball joints haven't been on there very long. And other times you'll have to hit it, not the arm, you'll have to hit the spindle with a hammer. Like I said, all I did was I just lowered the jack, took all the weight off of it, and the spring pressure did it. See how much gap they gave me. And if a nut wouldn't have been there, it would have just fallen all the way off. But I don't like doing that. Go ahead and take the nut the rest of the way off. And that arm just pops up. Put your nut back on there. Put your cotter key somewhere where you won't lose it. Unless you're me. And I'll lose it anyways. So here on the shock tower, you can see I cleaned the bolts off with a wire brush. And these bolt heads are oddball size, and they're very tight in there, again because of 300,000 miles on this vehicle. I think it's had the A-arm bushings replaced once before, just based on the way they look, but I won't swear to it. So put your socket on there. I think if you need an extension, and then again ratchet and cheater pipe. You don't want to break these bolts especially if you're doing this like me and trying to get it all done in one weekend. I was able to do both shocks and both upper A-arm bushings in one day. See, I had to use an extension there to clear the shock tower. And again, had to use my cheater pipe. And I only loosen a little bit on each side at a time. That way, I still got one side kind of holding it, and it comes off evenly. That is so tight that it snapped the ratchet into the neutral position. So, back on the cheater pipe I go. There she's turning. And the tighter your cheater pipe, word of advice anyways, the tighter your cheater pipe fits on the ratchet, the less slop you'll have and the more force you can transform into it. Now you just pull it up out of the way. I'm going to take it over your workbench. So you can see the marks from the bushing on the shock, and you should mark where those bolts go. You can kind of see where the washers were on the resting down in there. That is your adjustment for your camber, which is left to right tilt of the tire. Now, this bushing has 2 washers on it that you have to save. No, my mistake. 1 washer per side. And that arm's got a funky little dog leg in it, so you have to get it back in the exact same way it came out. So I sprayed some more penetrant on it, right around there, on both sides. You can see how wore out that bushing is. And it's a rubber bushing with metal insert on it, and the rubber is in a metal insert that you press out of this A-arm. Now for this particular vehicle, you can buy a complete bushing A-arm with the bushings already installed. So just start working it. You see the bushing's completely gone on that side. And your bunch of nut out at the end is flush with the mounting arm there. That way, when you're beating on it, you won't mushroom the end of the threads or the end of the nut. Save that washer right there. And you can see this rubber just crumbling on me. And that right there, that rusty stuff, is the inner sleeve, which that rod goes through. Here I'm getting it flush like I said to do. So yeah, I'm going to hit it here and try to drive it out that way. And there's an inner washer there you have to save too. I'll point it out when I can tell you about it when I get to that point. And right there, that metal piece inside, you see how it doesn't go all the way through there? That's the part that we're replacing, the outer sleeve. That's the whole thing we're replacing. Okay, so I drove it, and you can see it's come part way out. I'm about as far in as I can drive it. So I just kept working on it and got it out. And now I gotta remove this here sleeve, which was actually pretty easy. It just bends real good. It's thin metal. And then I have to remove the whole bushing off this side. And there's that inner washer. You gotta save that because the new ones don't come with it. Here I'm just using my ball joint press to press that sleeve out. Little Harbor Freight specialty tool. And I'm using a socket as a adapter. You can see it just sliding right out of there. So here I'm talking about the dog leg in this and how that's got to be go in a certain way. So you need to mark it somehow. See me marking it there with a screwdriver. And you also need to know what side goes up, which side goes down, because that'll mess with your alignment if you don't get it right. So let's get the other side off. So I cut it with a die grinder on this side. I'm going to kind of open it up a little bit. And to do that, I just jam my screwdriver in there and tap it with a hammer. You can do the same thing with a hacksaw. Just be very careful not to cut that inner washer. Because again, you have to have it. Now I use the bolt to mark which side went up. So you see I got it split completely there on that side. And it was a tenacious little thing. So I worked on it. And then decided I'd go ahead and split the other side. You can see how much I bent it outwards. And just work it off there. Take your inner bushing out. And that's the inner sleeve I was telling you about. And you just got to pop it off there and make sure that you're down to just that control arm rod. Here I'm just giving it a few taps to just kind of jar it loose. And then I just peeled it off. I don't remember what I was telling you here. See, I got it peeled all the way off. That washer will slide on and off real easy, which means your bushing will slide on. Now I'm using Moog. They used to be the premier front end parts back when I was growing up. They were working fine for me. So you got your instructions and your bushings. There is one pair per package, so you can do one side of the vehicle per package. See, it just slides right on there like that. Now take your A-arm, apply some lubricant, It'll make your life a little bit lot easier. And if you happen to have a press, you can do this with a press. My press was out of service. Yeah, here I'm telling you to mark that so you know which side goes up because of the dog leg. Just start that in there. More lube. Kind of get started on there. Put your washer and your nut on so you can hold it. Move that back out of your way. And here I'm using my ball joint press again. You gotta be careful because you can bend this A-arm. Those flanges are pretty lightweight. The good news is that spring steel, these spring back. But you can see them start to clamp down, and I loosen it back up. Go ahead and tap it in there a little further if you can. You need to get it far enough in there that you can get the other side in and thread it, the nut and washer thread on that side as well. So you just keep working on it. So here I got as far as I can get that way. Nut and washer on. This one, using the longer cup for my press, and a little percussive persuasion. Again, I just want it far enough I can get a couple threads on that nut into it. And here I've got it back as far as I want it. I'm going to put it back on the truck so that I can use the the mounting rod itself to pull them in. Here I've got it set back on the truck, and just work one side and then the other until you get it as far in as you can go easily with the smaller ratchet. You can see it start sliding in right there. Now I got as far as I go. It still moves up and down. So all these have to have a torque spec. You have to do, and you have to have weight on the suspension system to torque any suspension system. Be sure to route your brake line correctly. When you go to put that back in there. Alright, so I put the jack under it, back under it. Got that all started. I've taken all the weight off of the jack stands. The weight is all on the jack, so therefore it's all on the suspension. Now we're going to torque all the stuff down. So work one side, then the other, just like I was when I was taking it off. That way you want to kind of pull them in evenly as best as you can. Now you can get to all those bolts with the tire on it. That's what I'm showing you here. I just have the tire off because you gotta have the tire off anyways, and I'm filming this. Again, all my weight's on the truck. Suspension. There's me moving that jack stand to show you no weight there. Same here, but don't remove your jack stands. They're your backup safety. And you can see I've got the shock back in there. Now you start torquing everything down. And after you get it all back together, you're going to drive it about 50 miles. You'll want to retorque everything. Again, like I said, I'm going one side to the other just to keep it pulling in evenly front to back. And your Haynes or Chilton's repair manual should be able to tell you what the torque spec is. The instructions had torque spec listed as well. I cannot remember if they were correct or not in this application. So now you got the side load bolts torqued down. You'll do the top bolts next. Thank you for watching.